tips and tricks video for 3ds Max. I want to talk about the Transform Toolbox. The Transform Toolbox is not new. It exists for some years now, but it's a bit hidden, and it's in many cases it's overlooked. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go into the Edit menu, and I'm gonna open the Transform Toolbox. So in the Transform Toolbox, you do have tools available for rotation, scaling, aligning your pivot, and cloning your object. So rotation is fairly simple. The only thing you need to do is just make a selection. You can change the rotation incremental value. So if I set it to, let's do 20 degrees, then we have an option for counterclockwise rotation or clockwise rotation. So that's fairly simple for rotating your object, right? Another one is about scaling. So with the size, you are literally scaling your object. So it's always challenging scaling objects in 3ds Max due to the way how objects are built. So you need to be a bit careful with that. So if I want to get the size, so by default the value is set to a size of 20, and I really want to know what is the size in the current Z direction. So if I hit get, I do get all the current dimensions of the object in both X, Y, and Z direction. So if I just want to scale it in the Z axis, the only thing you need to do is activate the axis, it's quite obvious, and then set the size. So if I set the size and hit the option set size, then I'm scaling the object, and it's scaling in Z direction. Be careful though, because it's a scale, and a scale is applied after the modifiers. So at first it's base object, then it goes to the modifiers, then it goes into your controllers, and after that the scale is being applied. So be careful with that. What you can do though, if you just want to reset the scale, you can automatically apply a reset X form. So it's gonna translate the scale into the object, and it becomes an editable mesh automatically. So that might help. Another one option, which is also very nice, is the pivot point alignment. In my humble opinion, this is just the fastest way, the quickest way to transform your pivot point. So align pivot, I can center it, and as obvious it's centering my pivot point. I can set it to the origin, so it's gonna go into world coordinate space, so 0, 0, 0, or I can just start aligning it in one of the axes. So imagine if I set it to minus and do an X, similar approach for the Y, the pivot point will automatically be located in my lower left corner. And again, I can set it back to the center if I want. Also, another interesting option is cloning the object. So if I select an object, if I do a Q clone, I'm just cloning the object based on the viewport. So what I mean by that is if I go into a front viewport, so let me go into front, and if I start cloning now, I'm cloning in this direction, okay? If I go into a left viewport and clone it again, okay, switching back into a top viewport and cloning in this direction, and if I now go back into my perspective, and let me activate the home position of my grid. So this is what's happening. So based on the view itself, you're cloning the object. So quite nice. In many cases, the Transform Toolbox has forgotten by many people, is overlooked. Again, it's available in the Edit menu of the 3ds Max menu bar, and it helps a lot. especially when relocating your pivot point. Instead of going into the hierarchy tab and affecting your pivot, this is a very fast approach for different transformations.